What's the name of this podcast anyway?
Hello, everybody. This is not Text Before Calling. This is a new show. So, bear with us. It's going to be, rambly and bumbly and new. Welcome to Politinkering. Uninformed opinions about uneducated politics. No, that wasn't no, not at all. Doesn't matter. I'll figure it out at some point. We might even get a real theme song at some point. That was just, whatever I pulled from the internet. But D Sprawls is working on an official theme song. So hopefully in future episodes we might have a real live theme song. But in studio we have guest Sean O'Brien.
Hello.
How do you do, sir?
I'm well, sir.
Right on. And then across the mighty vastness of Southern California, down in San Diego, we have Justin Wulbert on Skype.
Hi, Sean.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's a Sean off. So we'll see how this works out. It's
going to work out well, Sean.
So, anyways, the show. Basically, it's going to be political in nature. We're going to be discussing general politics, I should say. The idea is that I wanted to have a discussion with, is something that you would find at the pub maybe 100 years or 200 years ago, back in the day when all decisions were made at the pub or the local bar. It just kind of feels like these days, if you were to go to a bar, politics is something, or one of the last things you would actually discuss. But in my understanding of the founding of the country, that's pretty much what you should be discussing. So my idea is that, get some people together and talk about our concepts of what the government should be, what we should be doing for it, and what it should be doing for us. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing death and the government and death. Just right out the bat.
That's
there.
Fucking new. Okay.
Yeah,
we didn't know what we were talking about, so
I thought I told them, but
Okay.
No, I mean the idea there is it's just there's a lot of facets to it, certainly, but
sure.
I mean, where is that line? Where does the line exist where the government does have the right to say that you no longer deserve to live as a person? So if we're talking about like the death penalty, for example, mm-hmm. where is it that we can say that this is definitely something that is worthy of taking your life away, and then these are actions that are not worthy of taking your life away? Or is it even the government's responsibility to take your life away?
Justin?
I don't think it's the government's responsibility. I'm pretty anti-death penalty myself. I don't think it's a decision the government should be making. So
you think there's no instance whatsoever that the government should kill anyone, really?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, no, I think I've kind of always been against the death penalty. In the past, I was kind of against the death penalty because I used to just think when I was younger that it would just be so awful to be in solitary confinement that it seemed like it would be an easy way out. But now I'm just kind of morally against it. I think there's been instances where we put people to death that were innocent. Sure. Even from a libertarian standpoint, it's not cost effective. It's cheaper to just keep people locked up. I think just the whole thing should just be off the table.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wish I could, turn it into more of a discussion, but I agree. I agree. I mean, I don't know. No, I don't think that.
So there's no instance in your mind that the government should ever be trying anyone for a death sentence?
Trying anyone for a death sentence?
Yeah,
or you mean just ultimately is the death, like, in other words, should the government have the power to take away someone's life?
Exactly. And
Right.
there's no instance they should have that power?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. You kind of have to begin with the premise that, we all own ourselves, right?
Certainly.
So we are autonomous beings and we can control what happens to our own bodies.
Yeah.
If you start there and we agree upon that, then it seems that there wouldn't be a case in which, outside of your consent, that they could possibly take away your life.
So that actually brings me to another topic.
Sure.
Should they stop you if that is your wish? So if should outlawing suicide be part of their agenda? Should they be doing everything they can to keep us alive?
Justin?
I would be a supporter of assisted suicide. I think people that are depressed and want to commit suicide should have avenues to be able to get help, because I think a lot of times that ends up, being a treatable illness, where at some point in the future, near midterm, that's not something they want to do anymore. I think people that have terminal illness should be able to have that option.
And that's where it ends, though? You don't think just like a guy on the street should have that option?
Oh, man. I mean, a guy on the street kind of does have that option.
Well, I mean, without the legal ramifications, though. So, if I were to try and kill myself and I was to not succeed, then there would be legal repercussions that I would be facing. That's possible jail time. It's usually not. It's usually more like psychiatric evaluations and whatnot. But
Right.
it is technically, I could go to jail for trying to kill myself.
Could you, though?
Yeah, certainly.
What are the ramifications in general? Like, what happens if you get caught, so to speak?
I mean, the way I understand it, most of the time you're just going to end up in the hospital for quite some time, and
Sure.
eventually, they let you out. But it is technically illegal to commit suicide. So,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
that you could be, as far as I understand, if the DA's a dick, they can charge you for manslaughter.
Okay.
Or attempted manslaughter.
Got
it. So it's, one of those things where it's, is it legal, or should it be legal to kill and eat someone? Like, there was that guy in Germany, it's one of those things that kind of comes up a lot, or not a lot, but every so often, where someone...
If you want to donate your body to a cannibal.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. So, like, you put out an ad and anyone want to be eaten, and I can do it quick or I can do it slow. And if that's a mutually understood contract, is that something that should be stopped?
That's a fun one, Justin.
I sense a pattern.
Wait, so if I take out a Craigslist ad trying to find a German guy to eat my penis, should they try to stop that from happening?
Yeah. I mean, if this guy really wants to eat your penis.
I don't think the right to have your penis eaten should be taken away. But I'm not sure that sanctioning the consumption of said phallus should be legal. That's the tough part, because, like, in other words, I can say somebody else is allowed to kill me, but if they still can't be allowed to kill me, that's the tough part.
Right, and that's the thing. So
Sure.
That's the kind of the question. Should the government have the right to say that they can't kill you even though you want them to?
That's a big jump, though. I mean, in other words, so the assisted suicide part, right, is separate from somebody saying just a Craigslist ad situation where a guy is just saying.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing, though. It's one person asking another person to kill them. Whether or not eating them is involved is completely separate, and whether or not they have good reasons for wanting to die seems separate. I mean, just on its face value of a transaction here, we have two people. One of them wants to die. One of them wants to kill. Why can't we let that happen?
Because the killing part shouldn't be allowed.
Ever?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, in other words, if someone needs help, it's not so much ever. In other words, can a doctor do it, right? Can a quote unquote doctor, or
So,
a psychiatrist?
This is the,
right?
The boiling the frog slowly sort of thing. The idea that, we can start at one place and work our way there. So, I mean, if we're starting with the doctor.
I don't even mean starting with anything. I just mean, morally speaking, I don't think you can possibly lift the illegality of killing somebody, right? However, a doctor situation, in other words, like you can't administer drugs to anybody without being a doctor, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
So it's the same situation.
Right.
Like in other words,
I may disagree with that as well.
Fair enough. But you essentially the MD gives you the badge of sanction to do whatever the fuck you want in many situations, and this can be one of those situations. Not whatever the fuck you want, but you understand what I'm saying. We grant doctors a certain authority to make these decisions.
Sure.
So with assisted suicide, yeah, I think a doctor is a good way to go. And in other words, I don't think it should be illegal to kill yourself either. But I also don't think this second jump after the doctor part of it, just being allowed, somebody else being allowed to kill you, is tough. Is tough. I mean, I understand. In other words, if you're a vegetable and you don't want to live anymore, and you call up Mike and you're like, "Yo, Mike, I don't want to fucking live." Yeah. Mike's like, I got you, homie. And Mike comes over to kill you. Unfortunately, Mike had the option to call a doctor.
Well, even not that extreme. There was the example that was in the news a few weeks ago with the woman that always thought she should be a blind person. And then she convinced her therapist to pour bleach or Drano in her eyes or something. And now she's completely blind and she's a happy functioning member of society. Why
didn't she pour it into herself?
I didn't look too deep into it, but yeah, that's as much of the story as
sounds like an urban legend.
I don't know. I saw her walking around with a cane on the news. It must be true if the news said it, right?
So she wanted to be blind.
Yeah, apparently she just always lived her life like she just felt that she should be handicapped in some way, and she felt that her handicap should be blindness. And, she tried to create it as much as possible, and that just wasn't satisfying.
It just wasn't authentic.
Yeah,
I can keep my eyes closed, but I know.
Exactly.
I know deep inside.
Apparently
I can see if I
much
open.
happier now.
Well, yeah.
Not that you're going to be much happier dead. Not that. Yeah,
no. Well, you theoretically are.
That's true.
I mean, you're no longer unhappy. So by definition, you are happy. Although by definition, you are nothing. Well, okay. So then, in that case, what would you say? Do you think that should be allowed for someone to? In other words, we'll stick with this exact example. Sure. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I guess my gut, that's my whole problem is I don't have hard views on any of this stuff. I understand it from multiple angles, and I understand what those different perspectives bring. In my sort of libertarian heart, my gut instinct is that if we have two people that are willing to enter into this agreement, that whatever that agreement is, as long as it doesn't involve or hurt anyone else outside of that agreement, then, we're okay. I understand, you're hurting family and things like that, but that is, that to me, that's neither here nor there. The idea that we have willingly entered this and then I was going to say, as long as you're of sound mind, but that's debatable
that's
as
the
well.
Question. Like, at what point is that determined? I guess that's in other words, in this situation with the blind woman, it's the therapist who made that decision.
Yeah.
Which, he's in a better place to make that call than I am, along with her, but he is a doctor.
Yes, but does that piece of paper mean?
Well, it means 7 years of training and years of experience. Yeah, I would say so. I think being a doctor means a lot. So it might not always, but it helps.
So you think the doctor should have the ability to do those things, but the government shouldn't? That's.
What do you mean the government should or shouldn't?
Well, I'm
saying the doctor is the person who is in the best possible position to make that call. The kind of the assessment of a person's mental health,
sure.
be it attempted suicide, be it kind of their willingness to be blind, or that they feel that they ought to only have a right leg.
In theory, but isn't that system just as corruptible as the system we currently have? I mean,
it's corruptible. I'm not sure it's corrupted.
It's not corrupted yet because it's not necessarily an option yet. But once you have the ability for assisted suicide, once that actually becomes a thing. You think
Big Pharma is going to get in the way and be like, use this technique?
I mean, we already have issues where hospitals just dump patients out on Skid Row.
Yeah.
I mean, we have issues where people are trying to make things and people disappear. And a lot of times it might be easier to get rid of a patient or,
Sure.
just, erase them from the books. So I just feel like you're giving that same power just to a different group of aristocrats. It's not necessarily, I understand, there's not really a better group of people we could find.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm not granting doctors necessarily the authority. I'm saying
you're already feeding into that God complex that exists.
Yeah, right. It's the megalomaniacal concept of doctors. No, well,
I saw that
I'm not saying that
Baldwin
the
movie.
doctors. I'm not saying that the government should or shouldn't have the ability to kill someone. What I'm saying is that there needs to be some. If there was something in place where the government could make the same type of assessment, which I guess brings you back to the previous point, which is, we have made that assessment, and that is that he's guilty and he ought to die. What we lose in that case is the person's ownership of their own body. In other words, their own autonomy is lost at that point that you grant any authority to anyone other than the patient himself. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that the government has authority to kill them. I'm saying that if a person in prison wanted to die, sure, they ought to be allowed. So I'm not saying the government should kill them. I'm saying they should go through the proper channels of, doctor assessment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sure. Or they just fucking do it themselves.
Yeah, those are certainly two slightly different concepts there.
Exactly.
But so I guess that leads us into like the idea of death panels then. Mm-hmm. So should the elected government form a group of doctors that can then say that, okay, this person is not going to recover. So they're not worthy of spending more money on. They're not worthy of, more treatment just to prolong their existence for no reason.
Justin.
Wait, so you're asking about
death panels, essentially.
Death panels where the person doesn't have a choice, where they're not going to get any more medical treatment at a certain point?
Right. I mean, if we go to that, the Republican nightmare of the idea of, the government completely in control of all healthcare and, making
the Republican myth.
Well,
No, I don't think there should be death panels. I think I probably, like you, Sean Plavernitz, would not trust the government to make those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly... but then, I guess, what do we do with our old people then? If we're
kill them. We kill them. It's just easier.
That's what I mean. If we're not going to kill them.
Yeah, no, I didn't know. I thought we were talking about, like, regular people. Old people aren't people. No. Why are we? Ew. Why are we talking about old people right now?
Use them for
I'm
firewood.
So grossed out. Don't be cruel.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm a horrible person.
Yeah, we skin them and use them as blankets.
Ugh, that's disgusting. So
sorry. What do we do with old people? Is what you said?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, a step before death. Then.
Yeah. No. I mean, they. Once again, they own themselves. What they choose to do with their own bodies is.
Right, but I mean, that's for the 15, maybe 20% that have actually accumulated enough wealth to be able to make those decisions and make whatever decisions they have happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just general that most people these days are going to be relying on government assistance when they get to that certain age.
Sure.
At some point where our society is just not set up to take care of us for as long as we're living these days, or as long as many of us are living these days. Mm-hmm. Certainly we've lived this long before. It's just not in this great percentages. So, as a society, how do we deal with that? If we're not going to kill people, how do we handle that? How do we take care of those people, or do we take care of those people, or do we just put them on an iceberg and set them adrift and not call that killing them, but it kind of is.
Well, no, we definitely take care of them. I mean, I think the system that we have for taking care of old people right now is going to be getting much worse with all the baby boomers who are coming of age. But that's going to be a temporary thing. I don't think that the system that we have for elder care right now is something that we should go away from one way or the other. I think it works and it's fine.
Okay. I guess just I've spent enough time in like nursing homes and whatnot in my life.
Why
to
were
know
you
that,
in nursing homes? Do
I've
they have
had,
just really good meatballs?
it's the sauce on Tuesdays is just unbeatable. No, I mean I've had elderly grandparents. I've had jobs where I've had to spend days and whatnot in nursing homes.
Sure.
I feel like I've spent more time in nursing homes than I should at my age.
Mm-hmm.
But it always struck me as somewhere that I would absolutely never want to be, and it seems like almost worse than death to just be kind of relegated to this I don't know, factory hotel room or whatever
Sure.
the hell it is. I mean, to me that just seems like I'd rather be set adrift on an iceberg, to tell you the truth, and then that seems at least giving me a fighting chance.
Well, and that's your right. Like it would honestly, it would be, I think it's, again, you're right to determine what you do with yourself. But as far as like, how do we take care of the elderly is a totally separate issue. I mean, yeah, I think obviously nursing homes need to be better managed, and there needs to be, we do need to figure out, fiscally speaking, where to allocate some of this money, because there are some fucking problems right now socially with a lot of different issues, obviously. You know what I mean? Like the elderly, how do we distinguish the elderly from the homeless, so to speak? Or
the elderly had jobs.
Right, fair enough. What about the elderly homeless, though?
Yeah.
Because in many cases they're not. I mean, it's the same type of thing, right? So I mean, in how you allocate the funds in order to better care for people who need it is a separate issue than death, I would say. Right? Because ultimately it is if you want to live a happy life, you have that right.
Yeah, it's certainly a separate issue. It's just a consequence that you have to deal with when you make the decision that you're not going to kill people. I mean, if everyone's against the Logan's Run thing, then we got to do something.
Right.
So.
Well, I think we should do something. I think we definitely should do something. Right. I think we all agree with that.
Taking a hard stance, Sean O'Brien.
Yeah,
we should do something.
Of course, I think we should do many things, and I think it's well within our power to do those things.
Right on.
But no, from the morality standpoint, I think they're separate issues. I don't think death is the same issue as what do we do with the elderly, because they're close to death. I don't see them jump. No. That just seems like a leap. I'm like, you're old. You tautologically will die soon.
Well, it was from death panels too there, but yeah.
I get it.
I understand where you're going.
Even like a more universal single payer healthcare, and in that case, everyone would have healthcare, and it gets to the point where, typically we have doctors making the call on when we should continue treatment and cut treatment, and the more, even though I would like a system where everybody had access to government healthcare, you get to the point where, I don't know, though, that there's a big difference between the government or the insurance companies making a decision as to whether or not they're going to pay for it, those procedures moving forward.
Right. At the moment, not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of, I see where it would kind of tie in.
Thanks for your justification.
That could bring us to many different topics, but you lead us, Sean.
No. I mean, yeah.
So wait, to go back to the other thing, Sean Fabernitz, where do you stand on the death penalty?
Honestly, like I said, on everything, I'm conflicted. I understand the gut reaction for revenge. I understand the idea that, even if it's biblical, the eye for an eye sort of thing, that, if some guy's going around killing and raping children, that, there's definitely some people that are going to want him dead. And I don't necessarily fault them for that. I don't trust the government, though. And I guess that's where my idea of the death penalty breaks down. I am certainly... I'm not opposed to killing someone in self-defense. And if they come at me, yes. But after the fact, when the government gets involved, there's just way too many questions of...
it's interesting. God, sorry.
No, I was...
It's interesting. I never really understand what people say or what people mean when they say the government, like in a monolithic sense. I don't know what that means. What do you mean by that?
Just the man, I mean that
sure. Right. Okay. I'm with you. Yeah. That makes sense. But really,
just Yes, on an intellectual level, we understand that the government is by the people, for the people, of the people, whatnot. But from a human living their life standpoint, it's the government that gives me a parking ticket. It's the government that's collecting taxes. It's the government that's, building the roads on the good side, but it's all kind of that one sort of faceless Uncle Sam entity.
But it's just a network. It's just a network of systems. I mean, in other words, so it's like the internet, in other words, you're saying.
Essentially, yeah.
Got it. Okay. No, but the internet doesn't really have a goal, right?
No, but large factions and powerful factions of the internet do.
Right.
And that's kind of where I've always understood the conspiracy world, is that, the idea is that not that when you're talking about a conspiracy that everyone in the government had to keep their mouth shut in order for this thing to happen. We're just talking about a few people that had enough power to make one thing or another happen. Obviously not talking about any conspiracy in particular.
Sure.
But just the...
Sounds like we'll get there at some point.
No,
I
definitely relaxed my opinions on a lot of those. But the general notion that people have goals and certain groups of people that have strength will come together, and when they find that they have goals in common, they will use that strength to push for those goals. And we've gotten to a place in our history in that the economic forces drive everything. So those few that small handful of people that have enough money to make those decisions are the ones that actually end up pushing those.
Sure. I was just going to ask you guys, what would you consider our system of government to be right now? Do you think it's a democracy or is it an oligarchy?
Yeah,
basically?
Capitalist oligarchy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say. I really don't.
At this point, yeah. I mean, representative democracy is it's accurate, but it's not representing the public.
So what do you think are some ways to fix that? Because that ultimately is what you're talking about, as far as to make the government no longer the government.
Totally.
That you're talking. Because in other words, it sounds like what you're saying as the government it's an entity, but at the moment, because they're controlled by essentially lobbyists and money, whatever it would be, ultimately. That's what you're calling the government. Is the money behind it, basically.
Exactly. Okay. There was a point when AOL was the internet.
Sure.
That changed, and that's kind of the same way I see the government. Is that it is this kind of collection of
parking ticket
minds.
collecting the parking, the meter maid taking the money, giving it to kicking it up and kicking it up and kicking it up.
Exactly.
Ultimately, whoever it ends, in whosever pocket it ends, you're like, that fucking guy. That's the government.
That's the man.
Got it. Yeah. That's the man. That fucking guy. Yeah. His pocket. Okay, cool. So that's an interesting way to put it. So cool. So then now I'll go back to the question. What do you guys think is the some ways to solve that?
I think Sanders has a really good point of just taking money out of things. Mm-hmm. So if we, I really think that elections should be publicly funded. So if we, first off, the election cycle needs to be cut down tremendously.
Yeah, I was thinking of the way. You keep going.
No, go on.
I was thinking of the way up here. I was like, the one thing that annoys me about fucking politics is how fucking long election cycles are. I'm like, people should not be talking about this right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that driving up here about to talk about politics.
Now, is there a way to cut down the election cycle? Isn't it just kind of, it's why it's getting so stretched out, or just it's people want it so bad and there's so much money in it that people just feel the need to start early?
Yeah, no, it's just so much money. Like, I mean, all they would have to do is say they're not going to hold the debates until later in the year, or until like the year of the election, not a year before the election. If we didn't start the debates, then people wouldn't have to throw their hats into the ring at specific times, and we would be able to condense that. Now, I mean, obviously, the longer vetting process we have, in theory, the better we could do of finding appropriate people for that. But it just seems the longer the vetting process we have, the more shit we find, and there's shit on everyone. Yeah. So there's just kind of no way around that at this point. It just kind of ends up going to whoever got the most money. It's, like a prom queen sort of situation. You just go around the country dancing and hope.
No, don't fucking go there. All right. Marjorie deserved that shit. She was the queen.
Right. She had the updo and everything.
You don't even know, Marjorie. Did you see the promposal, by the way?
Promposal?
Yeah, the promposal for her.
Oh.
But there isn't Marjorie, guys. I'm sorry. Don't Google. I'm just fucking around.
Right on.
So money there it is. So money is the problem. Money.
To me, that's the big thing. Money, and then the selling the debates. That seems weird.
That's well put.
Yeah.
That's really well put.
It's a weird situation, but I don't know. I kind of think that airtime should be free. So at least for political office, that should be a requirement of having an FCC broadcasting license like it used to be, that, part of your day was dedicated to broadcasting public awareness or events or whatever it is. Ever since like the 80s and the whole Reagan decentralizing of things, they've gotten away from a lot of that stuff. But I think we do need to place a lot more blame on our media. The idea that, they're supposed to be the fourth estate. They're supposed to be the ones that are asking these questions, but instead all they're doing is trying to get access. And then everything that they're doing is controlled by their ability to get access. And then that's, just kind of waved in front of them. Well, do you want to be working in the White House anymore? Well, you better be asking these questions and these questions, but not these. And, if you don't want to work in the White House, then you can ask what you want, but you're not going to be here to ask them. So,
I mean, this is sort of a dumb question, but it bears conversation. Do you think that the majority of the candidates on either side really believe what it is that they're saying?
Oh, not a damn thing.
Right.
That's always been my problem with Hillary Clinton. That, she is whatever her audience wants her to be at any given time. There is no Hillary Clinton. She is she's vaporware. She is, just something that exists to,
it's a malleable mask.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. To enlighten, or not to enlighten, but to get, bolster exuberance.
Sure.
It's, just a mascot more than an actual person. But
sure. And so do you think there are any candidates who do believe everything they're saying?
I like Bernie.
You're feeling the burn, so to speak.
Yeah, burn it down.
Burn it down? That's good.
I'm trying to
Is
start
that the new one?
No, I'm trying to start it.
Burn it down.
Burn it down.
Jesus Christ. I don't know how I feel about it. Burn it down.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
But
Bernie Sanders.
So, he at least puts on a good show, and he's at least passionate when he's speaking. Whether or not he still believes that, I don't know. I'm sure he still believes in that stuff, but there's also an element of the sort of Baptist preacher that's just kind of up there and knowing how to play an audience like a fiddle and knowing when to raise his voice to get the cheers and whatnot. It is showmanship, and so there has to be. I guess an inevitable part of it is when they just kind of become a part of that show.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin, what do you think?
But see, I think that I like Bernie, and I like a lot of what he's saying, and I think that he believes in a lot of what he's saying, a lot more so than a lot of the other candidates.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't matter because he becomes the president. What on his platform is he going to actually be able to enact?
That is a very good question.
Well, that gets to the point of what does a president actually do, though? Technically, if you really read the Constitution, what's in what their job responsibilities actually are, all of the things that all of them are putting on their platforms are things that are supposed to be way out of their purview.
Sure.
But they are essentially just supposed to be the de facto cheerleader, and then commander in chief got kind of jammed in there too. But it's it's not supposed to be a king. It's not supposed to be a decider. It's not supposed to be the person that's in charge of these things. It's supposed to be the person that kind of takes the temperature of the electorate and filters that out in sort of a public spokesman for the country sort of way.
Cool. So he's the engine to the discourse, if you will, between the three,
That's my vague understanding of the Constitution from 8th grade.
Sure. It's like, I don't know if I've ever read the Constitution. No,
I think as time goes on, it seems that the president gets more and more power. I mean, to the point where you get Barack Obama, who, I mean, how many people does he kill with his drone strikes while we're not actually at war? If you look at, you want to bring it back to talking about death.
Yeah.
Nice
kinda,
segue.
Indeed. Pro.
So, I mean, I look at like a lot of things that I looked up to in Barack, he has not fulfilled or enacted. And it's kind of a question of how much was he lying? How much was he just, he thought he could do it and couldn't?
And how much
has he just changed by being
down the road
in the position? Because I really dislike all the drone strikes killing.
Yeah,
but I also like the fact that we haven't gone to war. And, you look at Bush didn't have the authority to declare war, but he still brought us into the war in Iraq.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't the first time a president had done that. So there's precedent for the president.
Mm-hmm, sure.
But that's the whole sort of presidential proclamation thing where they can, just kind of make up their own laws now, which, again, that's not really something that the Constitution strictly says that they have the ability to do.
Sure.
But
that's why I would just kind of say fuck the Constitution. I don't know why we are all so beholden to the Constitution.
Right on.
And everything that we have now is kind of, I wouldn't say everything's super messed up, but we can't do the things that we want to do and everything's so hamstrung. Why are we so beholden?
We aren't. We really aren't. It's a malleable piece. Rewrite it. Fucking, it's okay. It's gonna be all right.
See, that scares me more than anything.
Why?
Mainly because
there's too much money in it right now.
Exactly. Yeah. There's just
the same money that we were just complaining about.
Exactly.
Doubling down.
This is like the one thing that's keeping everything from falling apart right now. And if we open up the books at this point, it's going to be a fucking free for all, and everything that we don't want is probably what's going to change.
I don't mean rewrite the whole fucking thing. Obviously. I don't think anybody's suggesting that. Yeah, I don't think anybody's suggesting that. It's little pieces at a time. I mean, for example, again, the money in politics.
That's something that could be done.
And so if that is the issue that, like, it's holding all together or is stopping it from falling apart in a weird way, then you can fix that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the silver bullet, but that would certainly go a long way to helping things in the proper direction.
Yeah.
One other thing I've always been in favor of, but no one seems to agree with me on, is execution of political corruption. So the
execution of what?
The death penalty for political corruption, or treating political corruption as treason, essentially. So
Got it.
The idea that, if you were to go against your electorate for a payoff, then that is, something that is a high crime. And, that is, if we're taking the death penalty off the table, that is still something that needs to be addressed.
Taken care of as well, yeah.
That's wacky.
We can.
I heard taking a bribe.
I didn't say stone them, but it's certainly there needs to be some ramifications there.
I heard what you were saying, but all I could concentrate on the fact was when I didn't understand you before, I put my hand up to my ear as if I could hear better with fucking headphones on.
You do have a little volume knob there.
No. I get it. Sure. I realized cupping my headphone doesn't make me hear better.
The future is now.
No, I don't think that the death penalty in any case should be
right. But I mean, even if we
no.
don't, but even if we weren't going to kill people, we should still treat them as harshly as we would anyone committing treason. Anyone that is making, sort of, doing things that are detrimental to the country.
Yeah.
Although then that brings us to the whole Snowden thing, and you know, whether that is actually detrimental or beneficial is left up to history. I don't like.
No, it's left up on this fucking table right now. We're gonna answer that question.
We're gonna solve the big problems today.
That's a fantastic question.
So where do you stand on Snowden?
Wow, Justin.
I was surprised that people were so surprised. I thought that all that stuff was common knowledge. I swear I read all that stuff in a popular science magazine like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, nothing was surprising to me at all other than that it was confirmation that stuff was happening. But I've always assumed the government is always watching. I read 1984. I know how things work.
So, I mean, I legitimately, I was surprised.
So then, is he a patriot or is he a treasonous? Whatever
Benedict
the fucking
Arnold,
snake.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
should he, fall under more whistleblower type laws or
government
Or just-
protection or government persecution?
I guess if I were going to answer that question, my gut says that he should be considered more of a whistleblower than a criminal, but I don't think I've done quite enough research to be able to
It's hard to know I don't really even know ultimately some of the details of what he did release. So it's hard to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, there are instances, in other words, if someone ends up dying because of what he released.
But then we get into the numbers, how many people didn't die because of what he released. Is unquantifiable, but it's possibly, much greater. If the idea of if we had never known about the drone strikes, like we obviously we knew about them, but they never admitted them. So, if those were just allowed to go on in perpetuity, how many people would have just been wiped off the face of the planet without anyone even, caring or knowing about it?
Right. Well, because they're not Americans. So they're not people.
Well, some of them are Americans.
No, they're not people.
I'm
kidding around anyway. No, it's well put. You're right. I don't know. Well, what does your gut instinct say, Sean?
Again, I'm conflicted as always. That's kind of my my gut is.
So we're just here
jumbled.
to tell you.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what I think. Tell me what I think. What should I think about the government?
Is that the point of this podcast?
Yeah, this is fucking great. Sean's like, you know what? I don't have the goddamn time to formulate my own opinions.
No.
I'm going to invite some friends over, and they can tell me what I think about things.
Pretty much.
This is fucking great.
No, Snowden definitely falls on my hero side.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Cool.
I think that anything... I am opposed to the government in most ways. So the idea that anyone is blowing the whistle and, getting away with it.
Sure.
And, the information that I have seen that he has leaked has been, at least, like you said, nothing was revelatory, but everything has been detrimental in that it confirms our fears. The idea that the NSA is listening to everything that we're doing, the idea that everything can be logged and tracked. And yeah, that's why I put out a podcast, just because, so we both have a record of everything.
Anyway, so in other words, we could just had a conversation anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And they would have heard us.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Wow, yeah. Cool. Snowden.
So I take it you're not going to be throwing him a homecoming party?
Here's a weird thing to say. I'm very much for Snowden. Whatever the fuck, I don't even know specifically how to determine what it is that I feel about the guy, because it's such a I think it's a shame. I think he ought to be able to come home, I think, is the first step that I would want to take.
Sure.
And we can work from there. But of course, then I guess that's my point. It's like, just bring him home and then it'll be like, it's fine. It's fine. So clearly I'm already like, just bring the guy home. It's no big deal. I think that's the only thing I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
Anyone in exile. No, yeah, I'm fine with him. I don't think no, look, I think ultimately transparency is important in every sort of well-educated, populace.
Yeah.
It's just important. So what he did, no, I don't think is necessarily treasonous. Nor do I even really think it's that bad of a thing. I mean, look, it's
not as bad as Hillary's emails.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, wait, so you were the one that asked if somebody died because of the information that he put out, and you were saying that transparency is important. So you would be on the side of saying that you would still want him to come back, even if it was confirmed that people had died based on information that he'd put out.
Yes. I was honestly just sort of playing devil's advocate at a point. I don't see him as a criminal. I see him as, and I don't necessarily see him as a hero either. But in a weird way, he's a journalist.
Exactly. Between those two choices, hero, but journalism definitely fits the bill a little bit more.
Yeah, it's if it's the truth that the NSA is doing something that appears immoral, if it's the truth that the government, quote unquote, or at the very with drones, right? Let's just call that drone strikes are occurring in such a way that is not only unconstitutional or, you know, or more specifically immoral.
Yeah.
Then I don't see it as a problem in releasing that information. I don't. So no, I again, I wouldn't call him a hero.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call him criminal either.
I always just kind of go back to the idea that our military is just so much stronger than anyone else's.
Yeah, right? What the fuck?
we can take anyone.
Yeah,
a couple of secrets here and there.
Jesus Christ. We're
but-
fine.
Did you guys see that Titan missile the other day that went off over LA?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, I heard
Everybody
about
was
it.
tripping out.
Yeah.
But
Did you hear how much it costs for
No,
one of those missiles?
probably
I heard
like $1 billion or
$80
something.
million.
80 million?
For one Titan missile.
Yeah, just to test it and fire it
Jesus.
off for no reason whatsoever.
Imagine what NASA could do with that.
Don't even get me. We're gonna have to do a whole episode on NASA. That's gonna be
Yes. Yes, we will.
Oh, you're anti-NASA?
No, I love NASA.
Yeah, how could you be anti-NASA?
I'm
Yeah.
joking.
Oh, I see.
I knew Sean Favrenitz went to space camp when he was.
You didn't, you lucky bitch.
Yeah, that was one of the luckiest weeks of my life.
Oh my God.
Other than some douchebag stealing my wallet, but that's
One
beside
of the
point.
luckiest
All
weeks
worth
of my
it.
life.
Yeah,
was
You were 8.
Yep.
Would you use a Dick Tracy wallet with like Velcro?
Well, yeah, I couldn't afford the French fries in the cafeteria anymore, so I was pissed.
Did you get astronaut ice cream though? That's the
I
real
did,
question.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Nobody needs French fries when you got astronaut ice cream.
It's a damn fine point, sir.
That's the best stuff in the world, man. You know, there's a fries right over here sells them.
Yeah, I'm aware.
You're aware of this? Oh, I didn't even know. It's fantastic. I love it. I love it more than anything.
Living in the future.
Death and taxes, my man.
Oh, yeah, that was a nice segue there. That was one of the death tax.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know how Mr. Wulbert feels about that, but how about yourself, Mr. O'Brien?
The death tax.
The death tax.
I don't know
yeah.
what that is.
Basically, the amount that your estate is taxed when you're dead. So affecting how much you could essentially leave to your heirs.
Oh, okay, got it. What am I supposed to feel? What
Do you have any opinion on the idea of leaving money to heirs? There's the concept that like after some people float the idea that a better system would be to put a cap on it. So at the most you could leave your children $1 million each. But
Where does
if
the
you
rest
were,
of it go?
Back into the government, into the coffers, into the public good.
Whereas it currently gets taxed at a higher amount than normal income.
Yeah. It's like
So it's kind of like people on the right want to get rid of that tax because this is money that you paid income tax on. You've already paid taxes on that. And then just to leave it to your kids, they're taking half off the top already or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's like triple taxation by that point. But
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, the hardcore Republicans really want to get rid of any sort of extra death tax and just allow you to pass all of your money along. There are some people that would fight the other way that say you can't pass anything along. My personal opinion is that it is creating an American aristocracy. The idea that so much wealth can be accumulated, and after a certain point, there's no production or no productive member of that family that is still continuing to deserve that level and call themselves American. I mean, I kind of understand the idea of the cap. So if we were to cap it at like $1 million each, so, each of your children could have $1 million at your death. And then, the rest of your billions of dollars would go into the public coffers to pay for roads or whatever.
Wow.
That even at $1 million, that's certainly, to me, that's a lifetime's worth of money, essentially. If you know what you're doing.
You think so?
Well, if you know what you're doing, maybe not today's interest rates, but $1 million, if you're even at like 3%, that's $30,000 a year. That's certainly livable.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, yeah, you're starting off with $1 million. You can,
exactly, yeah. So,
it'll be 5 by the time you're 10.
right, and obviously there's going to be loopholes, and people are going to be signing over houses to their children before they die and shit like that. But I mean, the idea of trying to put some sort of limitation on that ever-growing aristocracy, that idea that we can't be a democracy if we're turning into this lordship, essentially, where so few people
oligarchy.
have. Yeah, exactly. Where so few people have all of that control and all of that money.
Wow. I genuinely haven't even fucking thought about this before.
Right on. Mr. Wulbert?
I think that you are a terrible libertarian.
Yeah, I'm saying, right? It's like,
Yep. No, I'm a libertarian socialist. That is what is on my Facebook profile.
I'm good with it being taxed at quadruple taxed at a really high rate. I don't like the idea of capping it at $1 million. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, cap seems a little aggressive.
It's also arbitrary, but I mean, what do you see as the flaw of the cap, though?
It just doesn't feel right.
Well, no, because I mean,
if
ultimately,
you work that hard to accumulate that much wealth, you should be able to leave a lot of it. Now, I also think it's the system's rigged and money keeps flowing up to a smaller and smaller group of people. And I know that's part of the problem, but I still feel like, I guess it would depend on where you set the cap at, but it would have to be significantly higher than $1 million.
I think ultimately the problem with the cap might be that there's no, oh fuck, I don't know why I started talking. I didn't figure out what I'm doing. Well, I mean, my brain's working on overload right now.
Just the idea of creating a long-term society that we are cultivating, to me, that idea that you can, it's just, if you take that sort of macro view, you just see that snowball building in very few corners, and there's really no other way to stop those accumulations from happening other than just cut it off at the knees.
But I guess that's what I'm saying. It's too easy. A cap is just too easy. It's like it's just too hard lined. It's like there are political issues are complicated.
Really?
You know what I mean? Philosophical, political, societal issues are complicated, and people don't want to have the conversations and figure it out. It takes time to do all that shit, and thus we're like, fuck it, cap it, done. $1 million. Yep. I don't want to have I don't want to have to figure it out. I don't want to have to figure out the correct answer.
Yep.
But there are, there's philosophical points to all of this.
And it's not like that money's in cash. What if the money's in, $40 million business that the kids are taking over the private business to own that?
It's net worth ultimately.
Exactly.
Just giving the guy.
I don't think you really can cap it.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Like this money is just liquid cash in the bank for the most part. I'm sure large chunks of it are, but it's kind of like then you're incentivizing people to buy assets that are less liquid.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the system would find
too many
its
loopholes
corruption.
for cap is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure the loopholes would just be bountiful. But I don't know. I guess an ideal utopian society just feels like they're. I don't know. Again, that's the libertarian side of me being conflicted, which is,
with the communist side,
with the socialist side, certainly, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I am for public health care, but I'm also for guns. Like, there's, there's that sort of idea that, I guess the reason that I have the socialist leaning alongside of my libertarian leaning is the idea that I realize that humans are making themselves obsolete. Mm-hmm. So we have created a society, we've created a culture that is fundamentally rewarding us for the progress that we make, for our contributions to society. But we're getting to a point where there aren't contributions to be made, or at least the contributions that humans can make are less and less valuable. And the more the robots take over, the more, less jobs that we'll have. They took our jobs. It's all just different things taking our jobs now. So it's just something that can, we're going to get to a point where there isn't money for the,
very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon. I mean, look at
arguably are.
Look at self-driving cars.
Totally.
Every truck driver, that's my job. That's every taxi driver. That's, hundreds of millions of jobs rely on driving a car.
Oh, yeah.
We could replace all those jobs with the robot today.
Yep. And the insurance companies go away.
That's my job.
Yeah, that's exactly. So there's
exactly. I'm in auto insurance.
So you end up in like a Wally's type situation.
What's that?
The movie Wall-E?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
I didn't see it.
I guess before the downfall, but yeah.
Right.
But no, I mean, eventually, or I mean, like even the guy that runs Uber, he said that they're heavily invested in looking towards self-driving cars. So all these people that are jumping on that Uber bandwagon and talking about all the extra income they can make.
How do you guys feel about Uber?
I love Uber.
Yeah.
I don't drink, so I don't really care.
Well, sure. Okay. Well,
I feel like Uber is for drunks or for bar people, and that's just like not something I do.
I mean, what about like cities? Instead of you don't own a car, right?
I own a car.
I'm saying if you live in a city,
I own a car. I'm not homeless.
Sure, but so for those who don't own a car in a city, right, like New York, if Uber is convenient and cheaper for them.
For
right.
New York, yeah.
But then, of course, the problem is that it first of all.
Well, so where do the New York Ubers come from then? So is everyone coming in from Jersey to drive an Uber for?
No, people own cars in New York.
They, really?
Yeah, yeah,
huh.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that no one did.
Very few do.
Okay.
I mean, proportionally speaking, very few.
So the
do.
10% of people that own cars are driving Ubers.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. Maybe some of them do come from Jersey, or from like upstate or some shit.
Right.
Like, oh fuck it, it's Saturday. I'll just drive around.
No, I take Ubers to the airport. I take Ubers when we're going out to dinner and not drinking, but we're going to an area where there's no parking, and it's $6 to take an Uber. It's just way easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just don't leave my house. So that
sure. So you genuinely just don't have an opinion on Uber itself.
Yeah, I mean, I drive from home to work and work to home.
What about the fact that it might be? It's like the fact that
what
it's
if
like
you
putting
drove for
some
Uber?
Right. Do you think that they're making as much as they claim to in some cases?
The company or the people's?
The individual drivers.
From what I've heard, their pays have been slashed recently.
Yeah.
So they're
it's so cheap. There's no way they can.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
And they pay for all their my biggest problem is that they pay for all their own maintenance, and there's no real like not regulation, but just there's no requirements for you as a driver to become an Uber driver.
Well, yeah, Justin, what's the insurance deal on that? I mean, I'm sure people are not telling their companies that they're driving for Uber, and then they're just calling you and when they have an accident.
I just started with my new company. With my prior company, we were told to look for the little U in the windshield or any signs that people were driving for Uber or Lyft. And then we would report it to our underwriting department, and they would get automatically dropped. And we would deny claims if we found out that they were driving.
Yeah, see, and that's terrible.
Automatically voids the policy if you're driving it in a commercial use.
Yes. If we just found out with that prior insurance company that they were an Uber driver, then they would just get dropped right off the bat.
Right on.
Yeah.
Now, if in the actual claim, we'd have to determine if they were working or not.
Okay.
There's a difference between having a person in your car versus being logged in waiting for a person versus just driving around and not actually being logged in waiting for a fare. There's like 3 different steps.
But you can probably contact Uber and get that info pretty easy.
Because there's nothing specific in the policy about it.
Right on. But you can get that information pretty easily though, right? Because everything is tracked.
I mean, technically, the information definitely exists, but I don't think that the insurance company necessarily has a right to get it or is going to go through the trouble of getting a subpoena in court to get somebody's cell phone information from Uber over a $1,500 claim.
Yeah, totally. Way more trouble.
If there was a fatality million, I don't know, maybe, but I think my new company is a lot cooler with it. But I don't know for sure.
Uber's, I mean, I think like not even morally speaking, just I don't like the idea. I don't like the way Uber is being run right now from the corporate standpoint.
Yeah, no, it seems like the dudes in charge are just dicks,
exactly.
But it's a good idea.
Right. But then I'm like, well, this is $4. Yeah, I'm going to fucking just go right now. It's hard. I'm very conflicted, and I'm like, I try to be really courteous to the dude, and it's always fun. But I take it exactly. Like I can touch my phone and a car arrives, and you can drive me to San Diego if I wanted to, right now, or Vegas, right now. Might be pricey, but that shit could happen.
I don't know. I guess I just like driving.
I love driving. That's the thing. I always drive. I
I hate driving.
Oh man, I thought about becoming an Uber driver, but it seems I don't know. I don't like it. I don't. If it were slightly more, I don't know, regulated, but whatever.
Yeah.
So how do we get an Uber? I'm sorry.
No, I had no idea.
It was my fault.
It doesn't matter. So we touched on it a little bit, but I guess I wanted to talk quickly about the idea of guns. Not necessarily Second Amendment, not necessarily like I've just been toying with the idea of like what happens if we do go all full liberal, if we do try and outlaw guns completely, if we try and go English style where our cops don't even have guns anymore. Is that something that's possible? Does that change the way that cops interact with people if they no longer have a gun? Does that change our status if we're talking to someone that no longer has a gun? Does that make things... I mean, I realize that it's a complete fallacy and there's no way we could get rid of all guns in the United States. But then, there are other countries that are making similar things work and, they haven't been doing it for, since the beginning of time. Certainly there were guns in their countries at some point. Again, I'm very pro-gun, so that's kind of a conflict of interest that I have. But do you guys have any opinions on the matter?
No.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm very sorry.
You jumped the gun, Justin.
Pun intended.
I mean, the thing is I'm not sure that cops not having guns is going full liberal. I'm pretty far left and pretty pro tight gun control, but even I would still want cops to be able to have guns. I'd want, the Secret Service and the FBI to be able to have guns.
Certainly, but even your standard beat cop, the guy that's pulling you over for traffic violations every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So you're saying that there could be a task force that they're the only, like a SWAT team would be the only ones allowed to carry guns, and your standard cops wouldn't. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess in my ideal, or the ideal that I've been toying with, whatever,
Yeah.
Yes, there would be a warehouse or whatever, a stash of guns at the police office. So when those situations arise, but most situations don't require a gun.
Let's take a step back.
Yeah.
You said, what do you mean when you say you like guns? Really? I mean, it's funny because that really is the best argument on that side.
So,
but what does that mean? What do you mean?
So to me, the reason the Second Amendment exists is for tyranny. The reason the Second Amendment exists is because inevitably at some point in time, the government will become so powerful and so tyrannical that we will have to take it back again by force. This is not the time. No, certainly. But if we take this time and give up that gun, then we have very little recourse in the future. To me, it's, I mean, and other than the fact that, I just grew up around guns and I've, had guns my whole life, and it's a recreation thing as well. It's something I've always been comfortable with. Sure. But it's beyond that, it's a responsibility as a human being to make sure that we don't encounter those tyrannical overlords that are inevitable throughout history.
Yeah.
It might be another couple 100 years, but if we decide that we're too big of pansies to have guns right now, then we're cutting our legs off in the future. Obviously, I might not be around, but isn't that kind of our responsibility, our legacy to the, I mean, we're only 200-year-old country. That when you think about our, oh man, that just blows my mind sometimes too. Just the idea that,
how much things have changed in in an extremely small amount of time.
Exactly.
I mean, 100 years, really.
Yeah. I mean,
the world is entirely different.
The Industrial Revolution, I mean, it just kind of like, it threw everything off balance, certainly.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. So
essentially, that's an interesting point. That really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I probably overstated how anti-gun I was at the beginning, but I would be more pro California or New York style gun control everywhere, where you can't just go to gun shows and buy a gun
Right.
with no background check, and then you can just walk into Starbucks, open carrying that gun, like that kind of stuff. You know, it builds a whole gun culture that I don't think is healthy. Versus in California, you can have a gun in your home in a gun safe, you know, in a safe way, but you can't carry it around with you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff.
You're
And
actually supposed to have open carry in California, which is a whole nother thing. But
and I don't know that much about that. I just know it's pretty regulated in California, you know?
Oh yeah, certainly. In most areas, it's one of those things where it's like really regulated in cities, but the state of California is very unregulated. So
Gotcha.
like the rural areas, guns are just kind of everywhere. In the cities, guns are supposed to be nowhere essentially. But technically, unless it's changed in the last few years, and I'm unaware, you are supposed to be able to open carry in California, which was like a thing in San Diego while I was down there. You know, some guys were in the news because they would just literally walk around the downtown area or the beach areas, and they would have guns on them. You know, the idea is that as long as it's visible, it's supposed to be okay. You know, and that's really something stemming from more of the Wild West days. But that was kind of the way it was when I was in Alaska. You know, I mean, you were never more than 5 feet away from a gun in any direction for the most part. Yeah. And, you know, that's just part of life in certain parts of the country. You know, it's, you know, I mean, even in Alaska, just when I was living on a boat and walking to the bathroom, which was like half a mile away, there were giant, you know, what were they, sea lions or sea lions? They were fucking scary ass bastards that would just pop out of the fucking water
with guns.
Well, no, but like, I mean, even the guns we had probably wouldn't have done anything if that sea lion decided I was food. So,
but like a bear or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yes, bears were less likely to be encountered, but certainly that is, it was a daily experience to encounter a situation where a gun might be helpful. Yeah. So, you know, that is those parts of the country do still exist, certainly. But again, that's not the reason I think the Second Amendment exists. I think it's there for tyranny. Yeah. Yeah. But, man, that's I mean, well said. It's really, it's well put. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't like guns.
Yeah, I definitely
I really don't. It's just too sad, man. Fucking guns are just scary. I hate to be so kind of whatever about it, but it's depressing sometimes to think about it.
It certainly is. And I mean, as far as like gun control and everything, I would be in favor of, I'm certainly in favor of background checks. I'm in favor of basically, you know, the same thing you do to get a driver's license. You know, you should have to take a test. You should show that you're proficient and know how to use a firearm before you're just allowed to purchase one. But then we do get into that whole slippery slope thing. So, you know, where we're just chiseling away at these little pieces here and there. The same thing that, you know, they talk about with smoking. You know, at first it was you could smoke everywhere. Then it was just the smoking section. Then it was outside. Then it was 20 feet down. Then it was, you know, all the way around the corner. As long as no one can see you, it's okay. Home. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that's something that you could do that with guns. Yeah, that's standard political process. Yeah. I mean, that's just, you know, we get that first step, we get that hold, and then, I mean, with today's. I mean, I really like to say that, you know, certainly crazy people shouldn't have guns. That's an easy thing to say, right? But I mean, in today's medical environment, how many people haven't seen a shrink? How many people haven't been diagnosed with some sort of mental ailment at some point in their life? That gets us down to a very, very tiny percentage of people that can actually have guns. And then we're into that sort of Soviet Union place where everything is technically illegal, and it's just when they decide that they don't like you anymore that they find what you have actually done that's illegal and lock you up and throw away the key or whatever. So, I mean, obviously that
took a turn. That escalated quickly. I wasn't ready for that, but okay, I'm with you. All of a sudden, I wasn't there. I wasn't ready for that. But I tripped, and all of a sudden, I was down 10 flights of steps. And I look up, and I was like, I just wanted to know when I have guns anymore.
Next thing you know, you're in a gulag, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, I mean, yeah.
Do you think it's possible to get rid of guns, or to get rid of all weaponry in general?
Well, I mean, you can't get rid of all weaponry. I mean,
Well, right, sure.
like, I mean, from my understanding, that's why we have chopsticks. So, you know, the governments there were trying to take away all sort of weaponry.
Right.
So they took away knives and forks from the
Right.
people and gave those to just the sanctioned chefs.
Right.
And now you're left with 2 sticks to eat with.
Right.
So, you know,
Either way, because martial arts basically developed in
exactly
the same way.
Exactly.
It's
so
like,
yeah, you take
it
away the
doesn't
weapons
matter.
and they'll make
We'll
weapons out of their
create
fists.
weapons. It's
Exactly.
fine.
We are a warful people, and until
Sure.
we beat that out of ourselves, that we are the implement doesn't matter. We are going to find a way. You know,
Right.
Yeah,
there's
you can 3D print a gun.
exactly. There's
Yeah.
probably 20 different types of bombs I could make with the shit laying around my house.
Right.
Like
Really?
Oh, I'm sorry, NSA. I did not say that.
I'm like looking around like, oh shit.
That doesn't mean you don't. That's the problem I have is that's not a
I
good
thought that
argument.
was a
for not
deodorizer.
making it legal, and people.
I'm
use
sorry.
that-
Repeat that, please.
People use that kind of stuff as an argument for not making it illegal.
Mm.
I guess I just don't buy into the whole slippery slope argument, like where you talk about, you know, they chisel away more and more. Like
Mhm.
I think it should be
Right.
extremely chiseled away, all of your gun rights.
Yeah.
And yes, there are going to be people that want to take it too far, and there's going to be people that want it, you know, pretty far, like I do, but not all the way.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's impractical. I would want it all the way, but I don't think that could be done.
Where can we start?
But I don't think you don't
sorry.
start because some people might take it too far.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's just essentially the NRA position, is that we're just not going to put up with anything because we've seen that slippery slope happen in all of those other areas. So,
Right. And we're just going to make up statistics and lie to people. So that,
for the most part, yeah.
Well, so then where do we start?
Damn.
I think, like I said, we start with, I don't know, just a lot of the regulations that we have in places.
Like what? So in other words, if we make the country very similar to the New York and California laws, you mean, across the board?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not as familiar with the laws, but I know
Okay.
where
make it up.
you can't just have
We don't
concealed
know the
carry or
difference.
open carry in New York City or in a lot of major cities. Like, I think that's a great place to start.
So no
versus
open carry.
in Alaska, if you have to, or concealed carry. Versus in Alaska, if you literally have to walk a mile in a rural area, yeah, you should be able to have a hunting rifle on your way to the bathroom because a sea lion might attack you.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Montana, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
fucking
So-
South Jersey, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think those rural areas shouldn't have the same regulations as big cities. But,
So you're with Trump? It should be a state issue? Sorry, that was a loaded question. Get it?
yeah, I don't even know if it should be.
I was with you. I'm with you. Well pun, sir. Or just in general, like, I mean, the right on the whole, one of their major kind of stances is that things should be left up to the states. It's too hard to make it.
Yeah.
It gets away from that kind of Leviathan-esque, monolith of the government with a capital G that you were talking about earlier. If it's left up to the states, then that's one way to implement those different issues.
So would you consider yourself a federalist?
No, I'm just explaining what you said. I don't have a belief one way or the
Well,
other.
because here's the thing. I mean, I think people should be able to, like I said, in more rural areas, should be able to have more access and more open access to firearms.
Sure.
But I also don't know how comfortable I am with militias in Montana stockpiling assault weapons.
Yeah.
I mean,
But then again, that's
That goes
exactly
to
why the
your
Second
right.
Amendment exists. Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know if I buy into all that.
Right on.
As far as the ability to overthrow a tyrannical government, you mean?
I guess maybe I'm naive. I don't see that as being an issue here these days.
No, certainly
it's-
not these
it's
days.
not.
That's what Sean was saying. Because
No, I know.
it is
I don't
kind of
see
interesting.
it becoming an issue.
I mean, yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, no,
I
and
agree.
certainly not in
I
our
mean,
lifetimes. Yeah, probably not.
I agree. I guess the only way to really look at it is because obviously we don't have the weaponry capable of fighting the government. That just isn't a fucking
That's what they
capability
said
right
in the
now.
Revolution.
I'm saying right now we do not have the capability to overthrow the U.S. military. Militias, state militias. You think we could possibly overthrow
Well,
the drone striking, nuke wielding?
it's two different types of warfare, though. I mean, it's the same thing as the Revolution. It's just a little bit different structure, but essentially we were looking at the same sort of odds. We had this overwhelming military force, and we went at them with a series of rebels that knew the territory, essentially. So, I mean, we're at a point where one person can do a lot of damage. And
I guess that's a good point. Like in other words, if just like one Guy Fawkes guy, instead of planting bombs, went in and had his finger on the nuke button,
exactly,
and said, "Everybody, dispose of your weapons right now."
That
or
could
I'm gonna
possibly
blow up
be
the
done
whole
with
world.
a computer. So it could be a really smart nerd in a basement that can be leading the next revolution.
So then again, the question becomes, why guns then? If that's the case, do guns even matter then? If someone has those capabilities,
because the Second Amendment isn't guns; it's arms.
Right.
So
no, I understand.
it's the idea that, whatever it is, we need to defend ourselves. So, there could be a day when computers are considered arms, just the power that you have to wield in the right person's hands makes that a deadly weapon. So, where does that definition stop and end?
So then again, guns don't really have any point in the argument in a weird way, because you're saying that we can theoretically amass enough weaponry to take down the government as it stands now anyway, right? Which is the arms that you're talking about.
Guns would certainly help, though.
Guns aren't going to hurt.
Right.
Guns aren't going to hurt.
Yeah. We still have to get to that button in order to be able to push it. So
no, you just said it could be a computer.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sure. I was just playing devil's advocate.
That's all I'm ever doing.
Because I don't know, man. It's I'm hard pressed to say that we could possibly take down the U.S. military. And
we should just change the name of the show to I don't know, man.
I think that's a good idea. What was the name of it again?
Politinkering.
Politinkering?
Like tinkering with politics.
No, it's I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
I don't know, man is absolutely the name of this podcast.
Right on.
I feel real strongly about it, but I could go the other way too.
I don't know, man.
Oh, wrong button.
That was perfectly timed.
Yeah, that would have been timed.
That would have been great. It's fine.
Oh, well, hopefully maybe the next episode we'll have an actual theme song that's for the thing, but it'll probably say Politinkering rather than I Don't Know Man, which is apparently now the name of the show. But thank you all for joining us on this wild little excursion, and maybe we'll make this like a monthly thing. I don't really know, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll see you again soon, and happy hunting. What?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Where's the stop button?